Hello.
Hey.
I don't know how smooth that transition was in the live stream, but it felt pretty smooth here. Yes, we have joining us again our wonderful jury made out of 3 real people and 2 digital avatars who may or may not exist. We never know. But welcome again, Katja, Sebastian, Laurence, Theresia, and Emily. Yes. So, shall we jump right in?
Sure.
Or would you like to have like a small introduction of yourselves again? No, let's jump right in, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Cool. Let's do this. So yeah, we start with this animation film from Poland. I think it's called Zero, or maybe it's called Circle, or maybe it's called O. But it's called something round. What are your thoughts on it? Does anybody want to start?
Yeah, I can start. I think it's quite interesting that she said it's a film about being trapped in your own shape or in your own body, because at first that was my first impression of it, but then I thought it's also a film about being kind of a unity with all of your surroundings, because everything has the same shape, everything is made from the same little formula. So I thought that's also like another approach to see the film maybe, or that I found interesting to see.
Yeah, I think the overall narrative, like she said, is not really clear. You can put a lot of yourself into it. What I found really interesting was the sound design. I asked myself if the sound maybe was there before the film, because it made me sound of nice ASMR films from YouTube or something. And so I in the middle of the film, I always I closed my eyes and just listened to the sound, which was nice. But clearly, it was not. Yeah, like you said, lots of shapes evolving, devolving, and staying in shape, I guess. But I think I've missed a little bit of straight narrative for me. There was a little void there that should have been filled, I guess.
Yes, that's maybe an opinion that others share or not. Does anybody have something to say? Narrative, was it cool? Should there have been more narrative? Was it fine without narrative? What do you think, Katja, in your animation Simpsons living room?
I don't agree. I don't think it lacks narrative. For me, it was really clear it's a daily routine, and I really liked how the shapes evolved from one into the other, and it was really smooth. I also think she used the format or her screen very well, like where she had, sometimes she filled it with lines, and most of the time it was left empty. So I enjoyed it.
I agree. I really enjoyed the minimalistic approach to just use one shape to tell or to give you a feeling or emotions rather than a story. And I think that is like a totally cool thing to do, because we don't need to see a story to feel something if we can just share the feeling through shapes, through images, and I really liked that approach.
Yes. What would you say, Laurence? You seem thoughtful.
Yes, I'm quite okay with everything that was said. I first thought it was a Petri glass for cell culture. So I found it quite interesting, this analogy with cell culture, Petri glass. And I found it a lot of humor, a lot of creativity, a lot of very good ideas. And I was quite happy when the réalisatrice, when the maker, the artist said afterwards that it was a motion graphic project. And I was, yes, I think this is a problem with it's not a problem with the narrative, but you when you see the film, you see there is a lack, perhaps, of narrative if you want to make a short movie. But as an exercise for motion graphic, I find it really, really interesting and really well, bien fait. It's a good result.
Yes. Yeah, I also, well, I was trying to like smoothly segue by like you mentioning that it had a lot of humor and like talking about humor, let's go to this comedy, but like in the end it was not really so well fitting. But anyway, the next film is a comedy from Sweden. Yeah, a film to change the world. Did it change your world, or how has your world changed since watching this movie?
Shall I start? I really, really like the approach to tell the story in the story, and it's all a bit confusing in the beginning, but the point being made that saying I'm going to change the world doesn't mean that you are going to change the world, and telling yourself and your bubble how amazing you are and how evolved and progressive doesn't mean that you actually are. And I think that is something, this kind of pretentiousness is something that needs to be talked about more often, to focus on the point how we can actually change something. So I really enjoyed the perspective in the movie, the irony, the humor. I think it's really well done. And it reminded me a bit of the German documentary Unfuck the World, if anyone has seen it. It's a really good one. Yeah.
Does anybody want to jump right in?
I have to say I was really glad, Miguel, that you asked the questions if the hoodies were sold, because I thought to myself, am I part of a big marketing scheme? Because capitalism has this great fucked up power that it puts a critique into its system and utilizes it to sell more stuff. But fortunately, this was not the case. I also loved how it was all meta-filmic and mockumentary, and it had a lot of quick turns and nice ideas. But I thought I got the point pretty soon, I think, and maybe a few less time for it would have been beneficial to the movie. But still, I love mocking, pseudo criticizing individualism. It's a good idea. I liked it.
And what about you, Katja? I think you were also about to start speaking when Seba started.
Yes, I really enjoyed this film. It somehow also reminded me a lot of myself and my friends, because we all kept talking about making a film for a film festival, you know, the one that they somehow stereotypically get a successful festival run. And I liked how they also took a similar idea to make a movie to change the world, but making fun of the process of making the movie in itself. So I really enjoyed it. I really liked the interactions within the group. It was just really, it somehow warmed my heart. And I mean, the whole movie is really stylish, and I'm sure she knows that it's stylish. And I like the idea of the sisterhood or friendship between the girls. And also I want to point out that I think the editing was great.
I also think it's quite interesting, because I had the same feeling as Sebastian, that you get quite early on an idea what they are trying to go for. And I think that's kind of okay, but 2 or 3 minutes less would have done it. But I saw this film for the second time now, and at the first time I was just thinking about the fact that they made fun of our approach to have like opinions on everything and how we want to change the world. But I also think it's on another level, they made fun of our idealization of friendships in a way, and how shallow or superficial some of them can be. And I thought, that's an approach I didn't see the first time. And I thought, okay, you can watch this film more times and still find something in it.
Yeah. What about you, Laurence? How did you enjoy this?
Yes, I also saw it for the second time, and for the second time I went on the website because I was like wondering. I was like wondering if the website really exists and if it's a transmedia project. So, like you see in good Werbung and good, how do you say, publicity things. And yes, it is. There is a very nice website. It's working. And like in the film on the website, there is a about page, and I didn't really understood. There was a lot of topics, and what is the aim of the thing at the end? What is the aim of the thing? Because they are talking about a lot of things. There are a lot of aesthetics, mise en abîme, and things like that. There are a lot of elements, but yes, perhaps more focused on something. So yes, the about page was missing for me from my lecture.
Yeah.
I'm older.
Yes, but it's not like this, what was it, this Rick and Morty episode that had like just like this page for like buying merch that didn't exist and everybody was angry about it. But yeah, talking about transmedia, mixed media, smooth segues, we come to the film Day Steps, data moshing, end of the world, glitch, reality is falling apart, the dream is collapsing, and we are here in Estonia looking at the sky. Glitch. What were your feelings about it? Let's start with the glitchy people. How do you feel about this glitching, Laurence, now that you are glitching as well?
I'm still glitching?
I mean, slightly.
I love glitch. I'm a very big fan of Rosa McMahon and all these people and Kanye West. And yes, I found it was a very nice movie, a very nice Corona movie. Yes, because this glitching aesthetic is everywhere, and she really played with it very nicely. And I'm not so good in technique, so I don't know how complicated it is, this data moshing machine. I think Miguel, you know more about this, no? It's like this aesthetics. You know that. Perhaps you can give me some hints on.
Yeah, I mean,
is it difficult to do? Is it technically difficult? Do you have to really? Process in every frame or things like that. But I find it really interesting, and in this category of Corona movies, I think it's something that is quite interesting, and it also is a good link between what she's saying and the technique she's using. And so I always like when things like that are really good translated.
yeah. I mean, just to shortly answer the question, it's like a process that involves a lot of steps and patience. I think like technically there are some easy things and some complicated things, but I think in this movie it worked really well, how it came out. Does anybody feel like commenting either on the technique or on the content of the film, or
I wanted to talk shit about it because you told us to like it, but unfortunately I can't because I really enjoyed it. I also thought that the world falling apart and the picture glitching all over worked perfectly. The sound design as well, I really enjoyed that. The voiceover was well chosen. Yeah, it was a good package.
The sentences that stuck with me were: pay your bills, don't talk to strangers, stay away from children. I don't know why, but I really liked those sentences. Yeah.
Yeah, it has something oddly poetic in this combination. What about you, Katja? You don't glitch as much, but sometimes also.
Okay. No, yeah, I mean, those glitching films are everywhere right now, and not all of them are successfully done, but I'm really happy that with this film, I think she did a great job. And as my colleagues already said, it's not just an effect, like it makes sense, and it's part also of the narrative why the pictures are glitching. And I really liked how, I mean, I am watching it here on a screen. I'm not with you in a theater. So it's even more meta for me, I think, to have like distortion of the pixels. And is it the zoom that is breaking down? Is it this digital image, or what's happening? And then having those glimpses of reality next to the distorted images. So I really enjoyed it. It's really a great movie.
I think I can just agree with what has been said.
Okay, very well. So I'm glad that somehow Sebas didn't manage to like hate the film after me making such an effort for everybody to like it. But yeah, so then we're already by the last film of the block, unless someone feels like saying something else. No. Okay, so Dear Father, film number 29, from Maren Klakeg. Yeah, would someone like to start directly? Or should I just like ramble a little bit longer until someone like...
No, I think I can say something. I still process the film, I guess, but we are again ending with the most crashing film of the block. My first thoughts after seeing this film were that I think it's incredible that they managed to create an atmosphere where Beate, the protagonist, could talk so openly and be so weak and also so strong in the same interview part. And I'm glad that you asked how she knew her, because I was asking myself that the whole time. I was asking, okay, is she the woman in the frame or is she not? Is she asking the questions? Yeah, I think that is made really well, and I think she said a lot of important stuff herself, because it's a film about this woman. It's not about her father. It's not trying to explain where he came from, what kind of person he was. I think that's really important, that they choose to not victimize her in any way.
Yeah, I think also in relationship to the film, the last film yesterday was the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Like just putting you in perpetrator shoes somehow, and like it was very, very different vibe. Sebas, were you about to say something?
I can say something, yes. I think it was like a textbook documentary. Like there was footage, people talking about that footage, talking heads interviews, and you also kind of mentioned it. The problem I have with this kind of films is, first, I've seen too many of them, I have to say, formally. And secondly, I don't know if the filmmaker somehow, it's not that way, but you could think that she exploits her story for herself, for the film. And I would love documentaries to reflect on that in the film itself. The filmmaker to step into the frame as well and talk about the experience she has right now doing this film with her protagonist. And yeah, I miss that. And I have to say, I got even though it was like a really good storytelling, it touched me, of course, and I'm not like an unempathetic dick, but I got bored because of the formal.
I disagree. I mean, sure, those things are, you can criticize those things, but I do think that for the movie maker not to be part of the frame or of the picture is way, it leaves more room to Beate, whose story it is. So I'm glad that it's that we didn't hear anything about how it was to make this movie. And I actually, although sure it feels like a classic documentary, it had somehow a very moving touch to it. So I was really moved by Beate as a person, maybe more as a person than the documentary itself, but I liked it, yeah.
I would actually say I would be kind of angry if the director moved in the picture and said, okay, it's really hard for me to do this film because of the topic or something. So
it would have been a different film as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe I just should watch something else.
No, I think just one thing that I just thought of when you talked, I think it's, of course you have seen such films and you know the topic and there have been a lot of films about it, but still when she talked about what birth did to her, I thought, okay, that's a totally different approach to abuse, because you normally you talk about like the trauma of it, but you don't have like this concrete situation that is so life-changing in a way, and for her it was so difficult. The way she talked about it, I felt like, okay, I never even thought that this could be a problem.
For me, it's also really interesting to make yourself aware of really not knowing the background of people you meet on a daily basis. So if you, for example, this thing of judging young moms or mothers that struggle is something that obviously you shouldn't do, but especially if you see what the background or the trauma can be that stands behind certain reactions to situations. Yeah.
Katja, would you like to add something?
I mean, I agree with a lot of that has been said already, but I think for me the big achievement of this movie is how she was able to create a safer space for her protagonist to talk and give her enough time and calmness so that she can actually tell her story and, as they already said, talk about also what's happening later. And I think it's important to show the film about a middle-aged woman who is taking her power back, still struggling to taking her power back, but somehow succeeding and sometimes not succeeding so well. But I think it's important to tell the story. I also felt it was maybe a little bit too long, but that was also maybe because of the formal reasons that were already mentioned. It's a very powerful movie, definitely.
Cool, thank you. Laurence, would you like to close this block?
Yes, I was like you. I didn't understand who was the girl that we saw on screen. I thought it was her. I thought it was the filmmaker. And when we saw her in the interview, I said, it's not the same girl. So I was like always asking myself when I saw the film, who is talking? Who is filming? Is it the daughter? Is it who is the woman behind the camera? And it lacked a little bit, I think, this information. You have to know who films to understand the relationship between the main character and the filmmaker. For me, it lacked a little bit. And then there was also things where I find it very nice. I find it's a very, very good film on reprogramming yourself when you are in this situation. that it was very didactic and very. This woman is super. She talks very good on what happens to her, and it's a very nice person, and she's really well filmed. So yes, it's a good, effective movie. But there is this problem, I think, with who is the woman behind the camera. And the second thing is there were like sometimes ways that weren't taken. For example, she said at the beginning she has another sister who was also abused. And it's at the beginning of the film, and then this character disappears. You don't know if what happened to this sister, if she lives the same thing. Where is the sister in the movie? So I understand it's only on Beate's experience, but there was things like that weren't exploited in the film that lacked a little bit. You have questions in your head, and then they are still in your head, and you cannot look at the film really deeply after.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I think we've come to the end of the second block, and thank you all for being here again, and we'll see each other for the third and final block of the OFFshorts after the next block from Junge Film. Cool. We're almost there.